Should this poor deluded band dare set foot upon our land, or molest the rights of England's noble queen, they will meet with British pluck, English, Irish, Scotch, Canuck, and they'll wish themselves at home again, I ween.
This video will be a commentary on the poem Hastings by the Canadian poet John Reid. My goal with this channel is to introduce Canadians to the cultural history many of us growing up in the multicultural era were deprived of, in the hope that, in finding ourselves in the past, we can preserve ourselves in the future. The poem can be listened to via the link in the description, and I would advise you to do that first before continuing. I first came across this poem in the collection Songs of the Great Dominion. It is the first poem in the book, and rightfully so, as it shows the great value those of British ancestry placed on their history as they were establishing this nation. Hastings primarily focuses on Canada's identity as the natural extension of England. The history of England is the history of Canada. Likewise, English blood is still flowing in Canada. The imagery within the poem is vivid. Sussex woods were bright and red on that October morn, and Sussex soil was red with blood before the next was born. Historically, Hastings is one of the most important battles in England. It took place on October 14th, 1066, between Harold Godwinson and William, Duke of Normandy. The battle was over the throne of England. Harold was ultimately killed in the battle, and William, henceforth known as William the Conqueror, became the first Norman king of England. England was changed profoundly by this conquest. Anglo-Saxon, the language spoken at the time, was gradually mixed with Norman French, leading to what eventually became modern English. As a fallout of the conflict, France and England would end up in the 100 Years' War, since the King of England was now also a French duke. The full impact of this battle can hardly be covered in a short video. So what has Hastings to do with Canada? It took place, as the poem says, 800 years ago, long years before Columbus came from stately Spain to find the world that ought to bear his name. What has it to do with us? The short answer is everything. We are a part of Britain's history and impacted by its past. Englishmen moved here and brought with them not only their language, impacted as it was by Norman French, but also their history, thought, culture, and institutions. For example, Canada has a throne and a crown because the settlers brought it with them as an institution, and the Canadian crown is a true and natural outgrowth of that self-same crown that Harold and William once contested. Moreover, those loyalists and Englishmen that came here saw themselves as Brits. They did not see themselves as divorced from all the centuries of England that went before them, but rather the continuation of that history, albeit in a new region. What needs to be emphasized is that within the context of this poem, and indeed for most of the pre-modern world, history was seen as being attached to a group of people rather than to a place. One example should suffice. In the Old Testament of the Bible, it is the Israelites that are followed throughout the narrative. First to Egypt, then to the Holy Land, then to exile in Babylon, and then returning to the Holy Land. The land is not the focus, the people are. Likewise, to the average Canadian 100 years ago, there would have been nothing strange about thinking of British history as his own, because the majority of Canadians in Anglo-Canada were of British extract. This contrasts with the modern view of Canadian history, where place takes precedence. Returning to the poem, we see that it is the combination of coexistence through history that forms a people. As the poem says, "So God doth mold as pleaseth him the nations of his choice, Now in the battle cry is heard his purifying voice, and now with Orphic strains of peace he draws to nationhood the scattered tribes that dwell apart by mountain, sea, and wood. He took the lonely poet Celt and taught him Roman lore. Then from the fields of Saxony he brought the sons of Thor. Next from his craggy home the Dane came riding o'er the sea, and last came William with his bands of Norman chivalry. John Reed envisions the diverse communities of early Canada as coming together over time through a shared space and a shared history to form a new people, just as the British identity was formed over centuries from the shared experience of Saxons, Celts, Romans, Danes, and Normans. Unfortunately, in modern Canada, we are quickly losing this sense of shared experience and history. Instead, we are only conscious of our shared geography. Rather than forming an extended community within the same house, we are becoming hotel guests, shuffling about with no interest or knowledge of the people in the room beside us. It is our challenge to form communities and to form them strongly. One tool we will need for this task is a shared history and experience. Each of us must start to do the footwork of learning our past so that we can build a future. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe, and leave feedback if you would like to see more content like this on this channel and help the channel to grow. Have a good day.